Hey, welcome to Comic Artist Pro Secrets. My name is Ethan Van Sciver. I am but a humble ink and superhero merchant here to serve you, the fan, the viewer. Got something special today, another commentary track for the very first comic book I ever drew. And I actually wrote and drew this one back in 1994, probably. 94 was the year that I got published. So I've been working on CYBERFROG under various kind of incarnations as I developed the character since 1993, and that year seemed like it lasted forever because I must have drawn 5 nearly complete issues of CYBERFROG that have never seen print, that were mainly just for my friend. I mean, they weren't my friends who were also doing comic books at the time. They weren't really books that deserve to see print. I mean, if I had the art now, I don't think I would publish them. I mean, I don't know. I have to think about it. Anyway, so last time we spoke about Fuzzy Buzzard and Friends, I told you a little bit about this company, Hall of Heroes. And Hall of Heroes was located in Elkhart, Indiana, and it was run by a very ambitious man named Alan Stewart. And Alan Stewart was probably in his late 20s, which to us he was an old man. I was 19 years old, and Matt Martin was a year younger than me, and Trent Canoga was 2 years younger than me. And I lived in New Jersey, they lived in Indiana. In order to hang out with them, I used to get on the Greyhound bus. First of all, I would mail artwork to them all the time, and we'd send things back and forth that way. We'd send photocopies of what we were working on, and stuff like that. But what was really fun was I would save up about $90 and buy a bus ticket to Elkhart, Indiana, go out there and hang out. I'd live at Matt Martin's house for a week or so. His family was very nice. They put me up in their big finished basement, and then we'd all get together, me, Matt, and Trent, and we would jam. I mean, we would just draw all kinds of great stuff with our characters. We would do jam pieces where it would be, CyberFrog, and then Trent's character, Deadbolt, and then Creed, and Matt Martin's character, Vortex. These were the best of times. I can't tell you how much fun it was to be a teenager looking up to Mark Silvestri and Todd McFarlane and Eric Larson, and Rob Liefeld, and Jim Lee, and just looking at their image books and thinking, someday we're going to get there, guys. We're going to get there. We just have to do our comics and try to be better than some of these other comics, these small press comics. Get noticed. Get out there and do signings. So this is the culmination of that work with Matt and Trent. I drew this cover in my house in Merchantville, New Jersey. I remember distinctly Matt Martin making me this logo, and I hand pasted it on and colored it with Strathmore markers and white paint. I mean, this is all very hand colored. You can tell I'm not a very good colorist. I do kind of like the cover. I wouldn't mind redrawing this if I ever did an anniversary issue. Now, I'm fortunate to even have this copy. I looked around for a copy in the basement and was terrified. I thought it was lost. And Andrea, my fiance, said, "I still have my copy, the one that you gave me in 1994, perfectly preserved. That's why I'm marrying her." And she brought it downstairs, and that's the copy we have here. So let's open this, and you'll see that back in 1994, I wrote her a little note. To Andrea, "Look, I remembered to put your name in here. Cool, huh? Enjoy, Ethan." And then, here we go. It's like we used to just do these hand-done, like, credits pages and stuff. And, there's Andrea's name. And we were friends back then. So we've been friends for, 20 years. Nearly 25 years. All right. Here's an early drawing of CyberFrog. This piece here was from an issue of CyberFrog that didn't ever get published. This was from one of the original 4 or 5 issues that I'd drawn in 1993, and I just cut it out and pasted it in there. But this isn't in the book, and the whole page isn't seen anywhere else. But here we go. I mean, the thing about this book is, first of all, it's not very good, but I think it's I think it's definitely of its time. You got to draw yourself in your first comic. This was what my hair looked like. I remember spending way too much time on things. So if I was going to draw rain, I would draw streaks in, and then I would draw little circles, and then I would do the black, and I'd fill around the circles and fill around the streaks of rain. And you know, all of this was drawn in. It wasn't laid in, it was drawn on the panel. So if you have the original page, and by the way, the original page of art is this big. It's as big as a comic book. It's actual size, because we didn't have comic book boards. We didn't know how big comic book boards were, so we just would trace around a comic book page and just draw it actual size. That way, guaranteed to look like a comic book page and to print properly. Like a page like this. Now this page here, I remember this page. This was the page I was working on in my lap when the news came over the radio that Kurt Cobain had died. And I had, it's amazing. It's like, you know, you can remember sometimes where you were and what you were doing when you look back at a piece of art. And this was something, I was sitting in a big blue rocking chair, kind of Barca-lounger thing in my office, and drew this in my lap. And, you know, there's a lot in it. I mean, it's pretty intricate. It's actually not bad. Still, it might be one of the better pieces of CYBERFROG art from his whole run. But, you know, a lot of time and energy went into it. I was just kind of stunned, just sitting there stunned. CYBERFROG was not a nice guy. Not at all. He was, he had no pity, no patience for criminals. I don't know. He was, I guess I thought he was being funny. I don't know. I had the sense of humor of a teenager, kind of nihilistic teenager who was, you know, influenced by books like Milk and Cheese, and the stuff that was coming out then. Like, I thought that stuff was really funny. There were a lot of asides, a lot of breaking the fourth wall. Constantly, CYBERFROG would turn and talk to the audience and say weird, goofy things. Yeah. And he went to sleep a lot. He napped. Here's Matt Martin, and here's Trent Canoga. I drew them in there. I don't think these are anybody, but I wanted to make sure those guys made an appearance in the book. Big 2-page spread. This is Deathfly. He was CYBERFROG's main bad guy, because a frog's enemy should be something related to a frog, and frogs eat flies, and wait a second, CYBERFROG should be the bad guy and he should be the good guy. But again, a lot of this stuff was just made up on the fly. You know, I really didn't have any set idea of what I was doing. I was imitating a bunch of books that I was reading. I was trying to be like Spawn and Spider-Man and Eric Larson, Savage Dragon, and these were my influences. So I didn't really, the fun of doing a book like this was that I didn't sit down and write a script. It was stream of consciousnness. And in fact, all of CYBERFROG, the entire run, was kind of stream of consciousness. Let's see. Yeah, this page actually was written by someone else. And here was a girl I was dating at the time. Her name was Kathy, C-K. That's not good. It was fine. I went to a dance with her during the making of this book. Yeah, Ben Reilly pulling off his face, influenced by Poltergeist, and becoming Deathfly. And here are more things that annoyed me back then. I hated Pearl Jam. I preferred Nirvana. I really disliked Pearl Jam. I knew a kid that looked like this. I didn't like him very much. He was a theater major and kind of a know-it-all. High school. It's like such high school stuff. It's funny. And yeah, I guess my fantasy was to see both of them get eaten by a large ravenous fly. And so that's what comics are all about. Comic books are all about your fantasies. And if your fantasy is to watch people get chewed and ingested and he's wearing Argyle socks. This was very preppy in the 1990s. Guys would wear Argyle socks and kind of saddle shoes or dress shoes, and then they'd peg the ankles of their pants. They'd peg them. They'd roll them up real tight so that you could see the Argyle socks. It was extremely annoying. Yeah, see, don't like Pearl Jam. So he ate this guy, or he ate her. Like, he just gobbled her up, and then something wasn't agreeing with him, and then Patooey, ha ha ha, it's a Pearl Jam cassette tape. Most of you won't even know what that item actually is, but this is the way we used to listen to music. No, he couldn't stomach it. He couldn't stomach Pearl Jam. What was my problem? Why did I hate Pearl Jam so much? I don't know. There's a whole page of nothing, of Death Flag loading and CYBERFROG waking up and then going back to sleep. This is good comics. Yeah, and here's CYBERFROG interrupting. I mean, this isn't nice. You know, he's interrupting, it looks like a robbery of a 7-Eleven. He doesn't need to do this. He grabs the gunman and he pushes his head through the drink refrigerator. Not necessarily. This guy runs away, says, "I be out, yo." CYBERFROG doesn't like that. He has great respect for the English language, so he murders him. I'll tell you, when you're a kid, this kind of stuff is funny. I don't know. It's like anarchy and chaos, and just you can be as violent and bloody as you want, and it's your fantasy, it's your art, it's your, you know, all of your impulses, even the negative ones, and especially the negative ones, find their way onto the comic book page. Oh, look at him drenched in blood, saying, "It's good, extra point." Stealing a Snapple, you didn't pay for that, and leaving. And then here's Ben Reilly. This is Ben Reilly. And by the way, I had the name Ben Reilly before the Scarlet Spider Ben Reilly, and it confused everyone. Everyone thought that I was making a statement about Spider-Man, and I wasn't. The two names were spelled differently. Riley was spelled, my Riley I think was R-I-L-E-Y, whereas the Marvel character is R-E-I-L-L-Y. Yeah, and so we used to do these little advertisements for each other's books. So here's Vortex. There's his little head there in the newspaper. Vortex is, of course, Matt Martin's book about a Christian version of Spawn. I showed you that briefly in the video about Fuzzy Buzzard and Friends. Look how image this is. Look how very 90s that is. Get psyched, folks. Look, this is the kind of rub-off lettering that you'd get at the art store. Like, I would have to sit there and scratch off the G, pop that off. Scratch off the E, pop that off. Get psyched, folks. I guess I ran out of an O because that's a 0, not an O. CYBERFROG 2 coming soon. And it didn't really come soon. It took a year before the second issue actually shipped. Now, this is of interest. This is my little brother Noah, who drew CYBERFROG, and he was my little buddy back then, and he drew a book. He drew strips about chickens fighting. Again, more like they'd blow each other up and punch each other in the face. Just so much violence when you're a child, when you're a kid. But he drew this picture of CYBERFROG, and I inked it for him. And he's got a real frog on his shoulder. I think this was actually copied off of the ad that was in previews. He copied it, but isn't that interesting now? Noah Van Sciver, age 9. Now he's a famous, world famous cartoonist / comic book artist for Fantagraphics. And he got his start. This is his first published piece right here. And here I would write, look at my signature there, my little, that's how I sign my checks. Don't copy that. What does this all say? I'm asking for fan mail. I'm asking for fan mail here, and I write a little essay about things. This is another thing here that almost happened. John Gaeta, that's his name. I spoke to a guy yesterday who said, remember we were going to do a comic together in the 90s? And I said, are you the guy who wrote King's Cross? He said, no, that wasn't me. This guy, John Gaeta, he lived in Philadelphia, and I answered an ad in the back of the Philadelphia Free Paper. It was on the other side. It said, hey, are you a comic book artist? you know, do you want to work for a new up-and-coming company I'm going to start? It's called Silent Majority Comics. Answer this ad. You know, we'll audition you to see if you can be a part of this company. So this happened while I was working on CYBERFROG. I thought, well, heck, if this guy's going to start a company, I will give him a call. So I did, and he answered me back, and he said, well, there's a meeting. He's like, you know, I'd like to see. Well, anyway, he ended up liking my stuff, and we all had a meeting in his brownstone in Philadelphia. And he was this, you know, older guy, slightly older. I mean, again, I'm a kid, and he's in his 20s, so he's old to me. And he explains to us that his mother is gonna die, and that she's leaving him an inheritance, a whopping $20,000. And he's going to use that $20,000 to start a comic book company. And he's assembled us, and there are about five artists there, and a couple of his buddies. He's assembled us all, and we're going to draw and write 5 of his ideas, and he's going to fund them when his mom kicks it. And his mom, you know, we all kind of looked at him like, that's very strange. He was a big fan of the Pet Shop Boys, and all of his books were named after Pet Shop Boys songs, and all of his characters were named after were Pet Shop Boys references. This is King's Cross. This is the book that I was selected to draw. These were the characters that were in King's Cross. That was Jouilette. That's Trivet the Rat Man. I don't remember. That's Stronghold. Wow, I can't believe these names are coming back to me. Pass. Okay, I don't know. Coming soon. I drew this entire book, and his mom never died. So those pages got kind of shelved. And it's okay that they did, because it was horrible. You can tell it's horrible. Look how, again, it's very Image. Very, very 90s. Look how cool Trivet is, though. Jouilette. Jouilette. Yeah, every page of this book is a joy. Here's a CYBERFROG pinup by Trent Canoga, who now works for Blizzard. No, wait, he's working on video games. Damn it. I hope he sees this video and pops in and corrects me. Yeah, you wanna buy an ad to promote your rip-off comics? We're your men. Do it. Here's an ad for Matt Martin's 5th issue of Vortex, which I helped ink. So this actually might be technically my first published work, because there are 2 pages in here that I inked, and I think this came out a month before CYBERFROG, but I don't know if that really counts. Trent Canoga, threatening a bunny. When you're a teenager, blood and violence and the destruction of innocence is funny, as I just demonstrated. And here's that house ad for Creed #1. Now, this made me extremely jealous as a young man, because when I saw this piece of artwork, Trent was the youngest of us, and forgive me, Trent. I'm not going to speak for Matt. I'm going to speak for myself. He was the youngest of us, and therefore he was the one who we felt was in 3rd place. He was kind of the George Harrison of Hall of Heroes, okay? He was really, really cool, really sweet, really nice guy, pretty good at what he did, but I mean, me and Matt were the ones who were fighting it out. We felt like, you know, for top billing. And then here comes Trent out of the blue with this, Creed. And I saw this piece of artwork. He drew it in a brand new style than what he was drawing as before. And I said, oh my God, that's a hit. I just knew that was a hit. And yeah, coming soon. And sure enough, like, CYBERFROG came out and nobody cared. Creed #1 came out, sell out. Alan Stewart could not print enough of them. He did not anticipate how big of a hit that this was in the 90s. This was an indie hit that stood shoulder to shoulder for a while with books like Jeff Smith's Bone, believe it or not. And Strangers in Paradise by Terry Moore, and, you know, like big indie books. And Trent was getting all this public adulation. He was in Wizard magazine. They wrote a nice article about him. I was so jealous of him, so jealous. and I still am. I'm jealous of Trent. But yeah, I mean, this book was really good. He ended up getting picked up by Lightning Comics, and they really screwed him over. I mean, they sold a million issues of Creed, and he never really made any money, and that bugged the hell out of me. I was always like, what the hell? But we had a little spat going between us, that was kind of spurred on by other people. On the back cover here, very intricate drawing of CYBERFROG hanging upside down. Again, this is what it's all about. You know, if you haven't done this, if you want to do this, this will be the greatest thing for you, is to get your own comic book published. Do it if you're an amateur but you're working towards it. I can't wait. I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you to do this. I got a crate of 250 copies of this, and I walked around like the Easter Bunny, handing copies of this book out to everyone. Just please read my comic book. I went to conventions with loads of these, giving them out to everyone. Now I don't have any left, but people who turned out to be very, very special and to be my destiny, in the long run, kept their copy and kept it pristine and close to them for 23 years. And that's love. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining me for this commentary track here on Comic Artist Pro Secrets. I have been and will always be Ethan Van Sciver. Do me a favor and click that subscription button. Please rock that bell. Rock the bell like the Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah. All around the world, I think, is the other part of that. And I'll see you again real soon. Thanks. Bye.